Hi makers, I'm David, sometimes known online as iShotJR. I'm the community editor at Make, and speaking of that, while I have your attention, I should probably do a quick plug for Volume 88, our 3D printing and digital fabrication issue. It's on newsstands now or available in the Maker Shed at makershed.com. But my guest today is Jacqueline from Cool Tech Zone, one of the creators of Tangara, which is the music player you wish you had in the early 2000s.
I did
So
write
welcome,
that. I did
Jacqueline.
write that in about 5 minutes, and it is being copy pasted
I've been using
everywhere.
it everywhere. I love it. I think it's the perfect description. So tell us a little about yourself and about your background.
Yes, hello. Yeah, I am Jacqueline. As stated, I am an MP3 player designer and forum administrator from Sydney. I am mostly responsible for Tangara. We have a bunch of people helping us out, but I've been doing all of the electronic design, the bulk of the firmware work, a bunch of this kind of stuff. Let's see, my background. I'm a software engineer by training and trade. As I think is quite common, I think, to
It's
be a software
extremely
engineer,
common.
get extremely burnt out and jaded and decide, fuck this, I'm gonna do hardware instead. I'm gonna do something real.
100%. Yeah, it's like for me it was just like you do a bunch of everything you write is for like this boring flat screen or boring web page screen or whatever.
Seriously.
Once you start like touching stuff, making stuff you can touch, it's like, oh, that's I want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Like I came up. I worked at Google from 2015 to there's my cat
There's the
to
cat.
like 2020, 2021, and I burned out really hard. Just
Yeah.
like I was on Android the whole time, jumping around like first on Play Services, then on Maps, and just
Oh,
sort of the slow
so
realization that like all of the stuff that would be really good to do is kind of
yeah.
like organizationally, politically not feasible, and all the stuff you end up working on is like, oh, I don't
So when I
like
said this
this.
boring screen, I didn't realize
Yeah,
like how
literally that
statistically
screen.
accurate I was being.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
if you
Well,
if you've used a direct actually no, because I started on Play Services, I can confidently
yeah,
say that if you have an Android phone or Chromebook
yeah,
or Android TV, you've run code that I've written,
that's
which
nice.
is somewhat scary because it's not very good code.
Play services has definitely taken like a lot of my bandwidth and
It's taken your
CPU.
battery life, it's crashed in the background, it's done so many things. Wonderful software.
Play services both as a consumer and a developer, so that's pretty funny. But so tell us how did you go from that to making an MP3 player?
Well, I mean, I'll kind of like I'd always been peripherally around like little Arduino stuff, that kind of thing. But it never really, I don't know, there was something about Arduino specifically, or it's like I always had one in a drawer, but it never really like it's like, okay, I can make an LED blink. Cool, whatever, you know? But then I got into making I made a couple keyboards, right? Like, hang on, keyboard,
Wait, so you
which I
made this?
make. Yeah, someone else did the design, but
Oh,
hello, Chungus. But yeah, I actually, I got the
you
PCBs
physically
made, I assembled it, and that to me flipped the bit in my head of like, oh, I can make a thing. I can make a
brilliant.
real thing. Yeah.
What was
So
the
from
name of the
there,
keyboard again? What was the name of it?
this is a Corn, Corne.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. It's nice. It's a nice layout actually. I really rate it. Lots of like layer keys and stuff. Um,
Does it use
but
like QMK or those like open source?
this one at the moment it's using KMK, one of the other MKs. It's
Okay,
Circuit Python. It's really
cool.
good actually.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I Circuit Python is so fun for keyboards because you can do anything.
Yeah.
It's easy.
What is the
Uh,
microcontroller in it?
it's a set of Adafruit do like a RP2040 based thing, but in a Pro Micro footprint.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool. It's got like a quick connector to it and everything. It's neat. Yeah. So after I made keyboards, I
Yeah.
decided to do the really stupidly ambitious project of I'm going to build an MNT reform.
Oh,
Um,
very nice. We had them on here. We had a live
yeah,
stream.
yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
yeah. And so that took me like a year in the background around work. Um, I can't show it off because it's in pieces because I was going to do some work on it and time has gotten away from me. But yeah, it's a whole ass laptop that
Yeah.
I built. and it
Yeah,
works.
I love it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah,
But so
so
these
from
are
there,
these are products that other people have designed and you have like assembled. How do you go from there
yeah.
for to like
Well, with
being
the reform, I made a little change to it. All
okay?
right. I instead of a DC barrel jack, mine uses USB-C power delivery.
Nice.
And the implementation of it is not very good because I did not know what I was doing, but it works. But it's sort of, I think that to me was another big moment of like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I was able to cobble together this thing that worked. And
And
from
that's
there,
what
I've done a bunch of other, kind of little projects here and there. But
so it was the desire to create that power supply that got you into like PCB design or
yeah, yeah.
cool. And so now
Um, and so
a
yeah,
whole
and so then
MP3
I yeah, and then I don't know. Sort of around the same time, I was getting into. I don't have it on my desk at the moment, but I got an iPod Classic, and I was like refurbishing it, replacing the battery, giving it a cool purple case instead. And it was just sort of like, I liked listening to music with it, but if you look at the sort of the market of MP3 players, it's really dismal. Like the best option was basically an iPod Classic that you refurbish, and it's a fair bit of money to actually fully refurbish one.
Yeah,
So it's either the iPod Classic, which they don't make anymore. Well,
with some audio
people
file
are making them,
nonsense.
but Apple's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Or you can get like a $50 piece of e-waste from AliExpress that
Yeah.
doesn't really play anything.
I
Or you
have
can
it.
get like a $500 to $1,000 Android-based
That's yeah.
terrible
That's
thing.
what I think the market was just all audiophile people that need it at like 4,000K,
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
so it's so silly as well because so many of these devices, like they have enormous batteries in them, but the
Yeah.
battery life is still not very good because it's a phone that they've taken the modem out of.
So were you originally an iPod user or did you just you're just curious about the iPod later on and checked it out for the first time
I
recently?
kind of got curious later on. Growing up, I
Cool.
had a really like I don't even know what it was. It was like a generic little like stick MP3 player. I think you'd take a
Uh-huh.
cap off and there was a USB A
So it's like a thumb
plug.
drive that also plays MP3s?
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. It was not very good, but I had a nice time with it.
I brought some props. I always have
Beautiful.
like a bunch of stuff on hand, as you might be able to tell. But this
Mm.
is my MP3 player. Wasn't my first MP3 player, but it's probably my favorite MP3 player, the Arcos, because it had
Look
a
at the
hard drive in
styling
it.
of that.
So I don't think
Look
it's
at it.
dope, and it's still like it's obviously it's got these rubber bumpers that obviously like it looks mint, like it obviously stayed
Yeah.
in good condition. But this is my favorite MP3 player. I had an older one that was I was trying to find it because it was really cool design. It was like very like cyber design, but I couldn't find it for this. But then I brought this, and the other one I brought that was my other favorite one was I don't know, Creative Zen, I think it was called, which is like a little
Look at that. Like, what is.
yeah, it was
They
like a
don't make
little
things that look like that anymore. And they look so
exactly. So this was like
cool.
the revolutionary French hard drive thing, which Apple eventually also did hard drives, but like these guys were like they just had such
Mm.
huge storage. They were in the gigabytes when everyone else was in like the tens of megabytes.
Yeah.
And
And
then
the hard
yeah,
drives they put together are just so technically impressive, too, actually.
yeah. And then Creative came along and they put a bigger screen on it. And so like you could watch movies on it and stuff. And obviously like now that sounds silly, but at the time this was dope.
Well, I mean, it's so interesting to me because it's like you clearly see how they were slowly inventing modern phones.
Yeah.
But then, for Tangara, we don't have a big screen because like you kind of why?
Yeah.
Like,
Let's dive into some of the features because there's retroness all over it. So first of all, the thing I really like, this is the first phone I have had that doesn't have a 3.5 millimeter jack, and it really annoys me every time. This is my phone
it's
before then,
dismal.
and even though it's way smaller, it still had a 3.5 millimeter jack. This one I had to buy a USB-C converter so I can like plug it into stuff. So
Yeah, I've
tell me
I've got
about
one of
that.
those for my phone as well, and it's so just awkward to use.
Yeah. But you guys have that jack built in and Bluetooth for convenience, right?
Yep, because you got to have Bluetooth. People love a Bluetooth.
Yeah, yeah. And then, but the most exciting, the most exciting hardware innovation, it is an innovation, is for me The wheel. Come on.
The wheel.
Tell me about the wheel.
I'm actually so happy with the wheel. Like to me, it's the perfect kind of like people have a nostalgia for click wheels, but
Mhm.
you know, I've got an iPod Classic. You can go back, you can use the wheel. It's not very good actually.
Yeah.
People remember it being a lot better than it is, but
Hmm.
the because ours is all capacitive touch with a
Yeah.
little haptic motor, it's actually the way I would put it is it feels like you remember a iPod click wheel feeling. Like
Yeah.
it's quite nice.
Is there any way you can like demonstrate? I know it's like we can't feel your hapticness, but is there anything we can do to like
I can do
see
my
what that's like?
best.
Hey.
Now, the thing is, you may recall when I earlier switched to this camera that there was a Tangara there, which
There
means
was that is
he's
a cat there.
on it.
A really cool
Excuse me.
background. I can't. Oh no, that's a cat.
Excuse me, sweetie. Excuse me, beautiful baby. Hello.
You
Let's do
mentioned
this
that.
one.
Yeah, there you go.
So here is this is my unit that I use at the moment for me. I've got a second one that's like a dev unit that I take apart all the time. But
This is your
I don't
daily
know.
driver.
This is my daily driver that
Yeah,
I update infrequently. But you can see it's pretty,
that's
you
so
know, it's
cool.
pretty responsive. Oop. Yeah, there we go. Oop. I'm going the wrong way. I'm going the wrong way. And it's all pretty. I wonder if the firmware I've got on this. Yeah, it's all it's all adjustable.
Brilliant.
Which is
And
again
then
one of the nice things about doing the way we've done the fact that it's capacitive touch and it's all interpolated kind of electrodes means that
yeah,
we can do stuff like sensitivity that's adjustable to whatever you want, and it works reasonably well.
and I saw you had a mod where you can just like ditch the wheel and make it up, down, left, right kind of thing.
Right, yeah, because no, yeah, you can see now it's not very sensitive at all. Um, yeah, so we've done the faceplate as a separate PCB from the main board quite intentionally so that like you can very easily like swap it out. We're probably going to try to make some alternate faceplates that we can sell. You know, once we've done this campaign fulfillment and all that. We got some fun ideas either as just a button one like some of the devices you were showing off, or I would really love to do. I'd love to do a faceplate that is just like the ribbon cable connector and a
Hmm.
little microcontroller and a USB port on it for flashing and the display. And then that way, if you want to mess about with an alternate input method, like sort of all the hard soldering is done for you and you can just, have like a proto board in the middle that you solder stuff to, I think that would be super fun.
Awesome. So when you back it on CrowdSply, which we haven't really mentioned the campaign yet, but if
Back
for
it
people who are
now,
backing it,
28
they
hours
get like
left.
yeah, 28 hours left to go to crowdsupply.com slash, let's see, what's the URL? Crowdsupply.com/cooltechzone/Tangara, or just Google Tangara. I'm sure it comes up first.
It
28
does.
hours left to back it. This is the final push pledge today.
We've pushed out the Tangara School for Girls and the Tangara Tea Set Trains in Sydney. We have pushed both of them out and claimed the search results for ourselves.
Excellent. But yeah, so I was gonna say when you order one, this is like a consumer device that someone could just plug in, charge, and start listening to, right? Like it's
Yep.
but it's also completely open source. So if someone wants to 3D print their own case or CNC, or I saw the idea of making one out of cherry wood or something like.
Someone's going to
Um,
do it, and I'm so excited.
I think did I see has someone actually made one themselves from the schematics or something? I feel like I saw.
Yes. A few people are already like, even before I've got the like design production ready, a couple of
Yeah.
people are building their own, and at least one person has like succeeded. They have a working device, which to me is just so it's so good.
Yeah,
It's such a good sign for the like health of the project long term. It's
exactly. That was
it's
the
so
that was
exciting.
something on a stream the other day that we were talking about is like with the open source hardware, like the ultimate compliment is for someone to steal my design and run with it or whatever.
Exactly.
Like that's the coolest thing. Like forget
I,
forget
I
paying me for making them. Yeah.
I'm so big on open source hardware. I think it's
Awesome.
so important and so good. And it's just to me like there's so much variance, in what gets called open hardware,
Yes,
and
definitely.
having something that's actually not just in theory reproducible, but
Yeah,
someone has done it without
yeah,
us doing really anything other than helping them with the bill of materials.
yeah.
Like, it's beautiful. It's so perfect. I couldn't ask for like a better demonstration of how well we've done.
That's brilliant. And so, obviously, the fact that everything's open means it's also super hackable.
Yep.
So the firmware is all in C++, correct?
And Lua.
Okay, so it's an ESP32 based. Overall, it's ESP32 based. I know you got like a SAM-G21 in there
Yep.
doing stuff as well. But so, do you think people are mostly going to be playing on that Lua layer above the firmware? Like the firmware is pretty stable, and they're just going to be customizing the UI. Is that the idea?
Mostly, it kind of depends. Basically, anything really performance critical you want to be doing in the C++. So we've got all of our like audio decoding there, all of our like database implementation, all that kind of stuff is all C++.
Yeah,
But then, yeah, our kind of hope is that we want to expose as much as we can via a nice API surface for Lua,
yeah,
because especially for writing UI, like we've got like a data binding
yeah.
kind of thing written at the moment, and it's so magical to be able to just like write these tiny little expressive code snippets on a embedded device, with a battery and everything that sits in your pocket. It's so nice.
I
I'm
just
really
want to.
happy with what we've made.
You said expressive with a V, right? Not with an F. Like
Oh well, we've
expressive
got
code.
both
The
kinds, whatever you
expressive,
like.
yeah, just like it's an expressive ESP32 that you're running expressive Lua on. That's such a cool decision because I know I have a lot of like little game thingies all over the place. And a lot of those are Lua just to be like more accessible and more
Mm.
like if you have never coded anything, it's way easier to get into than like setting
Yeah,
up.
I really think people are sleeping on Lua for embedded devices. Actually, I think like when you compare it to something like your MicroPython or your CircuitPython,
Mhm.
like the actual like footprint of what it requires to run is so
Yeah,
much smaller, and it's so fast. It's so easy. It's a beautiful little language. Actually,
yeah.
I really enjoy it.
I think that's such a cool design decision. So, so the ESP32 obviously gives you Bluetooth for the headphones and stuff.
Wi-Fi as well in theory.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Is obviously it's got Wi-Fi. So which ESP32 is it? Is it the
It is the plain old ESP32 because
okay,
that's the only one that does Bluetooth Classic, which we need for audio streaming.
cool? And so uh, can you transfer songs via Wi-Fi or anything like that?
Not yet. For our kind of how we've been developing firmware for the kind of to get everything ready for the production run, one of our cutoffs is we're not going to touch Wi-Fi because it's a
Cool.
whole quagmire to get into. But
Yeah.
yeah, long term, I would love to be able to do like syncing over Wi-Fi. I'd love
Yeah.
to be able to expose. We've got an on-device Lua REPL. I
Yeah.
would love to expose that as a little web page over Wi-Fi. That would be incredible. Like, there's just so much potential we can do with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I was just
Not
thinking like
not yet, but it's sick.
one of the this isn't even like a very new device, but one of the Pocket Sprite is a
Look
really
at
great example of
that. It's a little
ESP32
friend.
yeah device. And the way that the hassle with a lot of these things is like getting the files on there and having to plug it
Mm.
into stuff. And this does exactly what you said in terms of turning itself into a little web server and stuff, and you just drag games onto it, whatever, which is such a nice experience because like as I was thinking of this thing, I was like,
Yo, check out your flipper in the background.
yeah,
Your
yeah,
little
yeah.
flipper animation.
Oh wow, it's perfect. It's perfect. Look at this. It's like, oh
Perfect.
my God.
Oh, it's
How is
gone.
that?
Oh, there
That
we
is the
go.
perfect animation for us. Oh my God. It's literally like product placement. That could totally be your device. Hopefully your users will be much happier than my poor abused
Yeah. Poor thing. You need to
there's
go
the
hack some
wheel.
more Teslas.
I have no idea what it's saying. ESP32 wireless.
Dragging game on.
Yeah, yeah. So, oh, well, I was just thinking, like, first of all, like, I love it just because, like, it's retro, but not just because it's retro. Like, it's got like the nice things about retro, like the headphone jack and
Mm.
click wheel and stuff like that. Not just like, oh, it's cool, that it's retro, but like, there are things that I value that I don't like that modern devices are doing, like getting rid
Yeah,
of that headphone jack and
physical
stuff like
like
that.
buttons on the side for volume 2, which some of the some of the newer MP3 players just don't have for some reason.
Yeah, and but so the one thing I was thinking about is like, oh, MP3s though, like I mostly like stream music. I'm a big Bandcamp fan and I have like tons of MP3s on there, but like what is like how do you envision people getting their music on there and where they get it from and things?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I get my music from Bandcamp.
Cool.
I hope someone comes up with a new Bandcamp by the time Bandcamp dies, because it looks on the
Yeah.
way out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm sure someone will.
Yeah.
As we say, we got Wi-Fi, so maybe one day someone will work out a way to do streaming, but it's not what we're focused on. I think it's like, even just from a political standpoint, I think it's so important to actually own the
Yes.
music that you're playing.
Love
And
it. Yeah.
so, for us, having it be files, maybe not MP3s, maybe a real format like Opus, but like,
Yeah.
files on an SD card or something that you're actually playing. It's I don't know, it's nice.
I love it.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
also,
I mean,
I find it encourages you to listen to music in a different way.
absolutely. I don't know if you can tell behind me, but when I can, I definitely try to listen to stuff on vinyl. That's like a very specific like
Mm,
practice, and I can actually tell like the amount of vinyl listening I do is like a direct representation of my mental health. Like if I'm like I
absolutely.
can't afford to like get a record out and listen to it, then that like says something about like my current like state of mind and
Mm,
stuff. So I like that a lot. But I mean like I had like a the RAID array on it died, but I had like a NAS server that had, all my MP3s on it and stuff. And I would totally listen to stuff because there's stuff that isn't on streaming and
yeah,
that I would totally listen to this. So I do like the idea of having my collection. And I found that like with movies and stuff too lately, like stuff's just disappearing or like
yeah.
not available. I'm
If you
like,
care about it, you got to get a
yeah,
copy.
I'm about to start like reinvesting in physical media beyond the vinyl. Speaking of vinyl, tell me about. I know there's some like I don't consider myself any kind of audiophile nerd. I think I like know stuff about it a little bit just from making music and stuff like that. Tell me some audiophile nerd stuff about this
I mean,
device.
I wouldn't call myself an. I mean, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Audiophile stuff is so
Yeah,
interesting to me because it's like it all gets lumped into the one label of audiophile, but
yeah,
there's so many distinct kinds of audiophile, and
yeah,
like some of it is sort of more legit than you'd expect, and some of it is
yeah.
just rubbish. Yeah.
Well, tell me
So
about
like
the
we've
hardware that. Yeah,
so we've kind of tried to hedge our bets and design our amplifier in a way that it's like, if you're a normal person, you're not, you know, having to foot an enormous bill for a bunch of stuff we've added. But also, if you do care about audio quality, if you've got really fancy headphones, we should be able to drive them just fine, even if they're relatively power hungry.
yeah.
Um, and all of our kind of all of the fun stats people like to talk about, like how harmonic distortion and noise and our noise floor, all of these things they're pretty reasonable. They're all right.
Yeah, I think
It's interesting with some of these things, the way that like if you buy the DAC component that's like $1 or $2 at high quantities,
yeah.
there's not really much of a difference between that and the $3, the $4, the $5 part. And it's only
Hmm.
at the $10 part that you start getting like performance that is like actually worth worrying about. It's actually like a step up better, you know?
What is the what are the sort of formats and bit rates and stuff that you guys do support in terms of file types?
We do MP3, but people shouldn't use MP3. We do WAV, and then we do all of the Zip.org stuff. So we do OGG Vorbis, OGG Opus, FLAC. Um, Opus in particular is the one that I think everyone should use because it's great. It's just the best format for portable listening. The bit rates on it are truly ridiculous. Like how small a chunk of data you can get that expands out to a part of a song that is not not it's measurably different from a lossless kind of encoding, obviously, but
Yeah.
they've studied it and you cannot tell the difference between an Opus encoding and lossless in like most cases if you're a normal person.
I need to
it's
look
a
at
really
that.
great format.
Yeah, I remember like when Ogg like came out and was like the challenger to MP3 and stuff like that, but I haven't even heard some of these newer formats. So they like you can download all those on
Yeah,
Bandcamp?
yeah, because it's all open source. Opus is largely I would describe it as the open source contemporary to like AAC or like
Mm,
M4A if that's how you see it more often.
yeah, great
Which
comparison.
is very AAC in particular is kind of a sad format. It's kind of a modern MP3 in the sense that it's hugely encumbered by patents.
Um,
Whereas Opus, it's all free, it's all open. You can just implement it. It's nice.
well, one of the questions I meant to ask earlier on, and I see one of them crawling around in the background, was just about the rest of the team. I know that Cool Tech Zone is more than just you. Is there, you want to tell us about some of the other team members who are helping make this happen?
Yeah. So that's me. I've been doing all of the, like I said, all of the electronic like PCB design and most of the format. There's my partner, Daniel, who Alerx Online. He's been doing, he did a bunch of the early casework and is now doing a whole bunch of firmware stuff as well. Then there's Robin, who has been doing, she's also done a whole bunch of casework. She's also helped out a lot with our web stuff. Although to defend her honor, forum.cooltech.zone has nothing to do with Robin. I'm responsible for the terrible PHP web forum. Robin's done the main website, which is very good, has very good markup, performs very well. Robin's done the good bits.
And let's plug that real quick. What is the website for Cool Tech Zone?
It's cooltech.zone, easy.
Cooltech.zone.
Or
It is.
forum.cooltech.zone if you want to join my forum. It'll be great.
How do we? Okay, so there's no way to navigate to forum from Cool Tech Zone. It looks like. But
No,
if I do it
no,
manually.
web design is my passion.
Oh, this is the Cool Tech Zone is the forums.
Yes, yes, of course,
Got
obviously. I should really make zone.cooltech.zone redirect as well. I think that'd be a good bit.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I saw your web page, your Cool Tech Zone web page, I like looked at the footer and I was like, oh my God, I'm absolutely stealing this. It's so good. The word art CSS thing, it's so good.
Beautiful,
Love it.
beautiful. Um, I should also mention Erin, who is fantastic, fantastic. She's basically like taken our case design that we came up with and like remade it to be like designed for manufacturing essentially. And she's made it like it is smaller, the buttons are easier to 3D print, the whole thing can be done in like a two-sided CNC operation. So not only is it going to be fairly cheap for us to produce at scale, but also if people have like hobby CNC setups, they can totally make a case. It's totally viable.
So what is the material for the consumer case that people will receive? What is it made out of?
We're going to be doing a CNC milled bead blasted polycarbonate.
Oh, cool. I just assumed it's 3D printed. Very cool.
Yeah, no, no. Our rationale is basically that like polycarb specifically is the kind of material that like if you're making your own, it's going to be pretty hard to get something like that. There's not really 3D printable materials that have the same properties as polycarb. And polycarb it's a lovely material. It's got really nice properties. It's really nice to work with. You can paint it, you can dye it, you can drill it. Like it looks beautiful with the bead blast. It's really nice. I'm really happy with it.
The couple that you have on your desk, though, those are 3D printed, right?
So this one's 3D printed and
Yeah.
it's the new case design. This one is the old case design, and this is more representative.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's polycarb, it's CNC'd and then bead blasted, so you can see it's sort of slightly translucent.
Yeah, are there color options? I remember there's different colors in the video. Can you choose your color for the campaign? And is there a transparent one?
For the campaign, we're just doing one that looks like this. And
Okay.
if you want it a different color, it takes paint beautifully, so go for it.
Cool.
And again, it's one of those things where it's like being able to do different colors, like
yeah,
because we are so babby in terms of manufacturing stuff, it would just be a huge headache for us to try to handle that logistically.
Cool.
So we're focusing on the things that we can do well for people.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I thought I saw like in the video that like it comes in like 6 different colors, doesn't it?
Yeah, those are all different 3D printed ones we made.
Cool. So tell me, if you have any, was there any like fun stories of things that have come up or like bizarre challenges, not so fun stories? Like how's the journey been so far?
It's been basically fine. Like one of the big, like I think we did a good approach in terms of like our design process. In terms of like very early on, we hacked up some basic firmware to like validate. Okay, can an ESP32 actually do this? Is it powerful enough? And from there, it's been, once we proved that out, it's been quite nice. Sort of the main funny thing I think is that the Lua support was surprisingly late in the piece.
Mhm.
I want to say I did that in like late December ish, maybe even January, and I did it in like a weekend of like I'd been doing a bunch of UI work, and I was looking like, oh, this kind of sucks doing UI work in C++. What if I just added Lua? Lua is pretty easy, and it was pretty easy.
Did you
And now it's
start with
become
something
like
else?
a
Sorry, go
sorry.
ahead. I was just saying, did you start with like Qt or like was this always the plan or was this like
So we used the same basic like graphics toolkit the whole time, which is LVGL.
oh, it is on you? Awesome.
Yeah, it's a very lightweight little toolkit, very
Yeah,
good for microcontrollers.
like it.
Super super nice, really like thoughtfully designed. Like it
Yeah.
does stuff like it. You give it a small buffer that is like smaller than the size of your screen, and it will do a complete rendering of that buffer, spit it out to display, and then do another little subpart of the screen. So you can sort of have a very efficient implementation in terms of memory and in terms of performance without a lot of fuss. And, uh, and
So
and yet now that we've got Lua, it's just we've basically written binding. Well, someone else did most of the work of writing Lua bindings for LVGL, but we've expanded those and added our own bindings and all this sort
cool.
of
That's what
thing.
I was gonna ask. Is it so like I don't even know quite technically. Is it like a little like Lua VM sort of? Like what how
I
does it
think
fit?
it's technically a VM.
Okay.
It's if you're not very familiar with Lua, it's sort of you can add Lua to a C project by like dropping in a single like giant like header file into your project. Like it is very portable and the language is very much designed for you to add little callbacks into C. So the sort of C Lua interop is just it's a dream. It's so 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 easy. And that's what's let us write all of these really rich bindings and be able to implement our own like data binding system on a microcontroller just because like it's easy. Lua has its own concept of, oh yeah, you've got a reference to a C function and it's a closure, so I will always invoke it with this extra argument. And it's so easy.
I love it. I just wanted to take a quick look at the comments to see if we have any questions coming in. Lots of hellos, lots of good mornings, lots of I love keyboards,
Good morning, everyone.
um, lots of chef's kisses and Opus references. Um,
Audio
uh,
nerds love Opus.
Someone is
This is
excited
it's
to dye
true.
theirs purple. Someone else wants one black.
We're gonna try because we're gonna get we've got a couple of because we've done Aaron's done the redesign, we're getting a couple more prototype cases CNC'd. I have acquired RIT. No, it's not RIT. It's iDye. I have acquired a dye that works with polycarb, and we are going to try it and see if it works.
Nice.
We are going to try. It is purple, the dye I got, so we'll see.
Excellent. Awesome. Yeah. What is your dream color? What color would you like yours to be if you could choose anything? Or design or
Honestly,
anything?
the
Material.
I
Cherry wood.
this the main thing about this that gets me is the actual like feel in the hands of the
Yeah.
bead blast.
Yeah.
This has hooked me 100%.
I can
Like it's so nice.
I can
I,
feel it.
I'm going to be very selfishly happy with the just plain bead blast look that we're going with for the campaign.
That's great. Hey, the flipper's back. Back on the click wheel again. Well, so part of why we wanted to make sure we got to it today, worst case, is that you guys are in crowd supply. Again, if you search Tangara, it should come up uh, pretty much at the top. But you have 27 hours left in the campaign.
27. Oh, time
So
keeps
if
progressing. How can we
yeah,
stop this?
it's 28 when we started, 27, and it's only going to get fewer from there. So if you
But
did.
If people can't pull together the funds for the
Yeah,
campaign immediately because it is an expensive device,
yeah,
like it's not a time limited thing. One of the reasons we've gone with crowd supply specifically is that like they will stock us, right?
yeah,
So long as people are interested in buying our little MP3 player,
yeah.
crowd supply will keep it in stock. We can keep making it, and because crowd supply stock it, this helps us keep our manufacturing costs low. Because if we are making a batch of 500, say, to
Yeah.
send to crowd supply, that's a lot cheaper and easier for us to make than if we're doing like 50 or 100 at a time and trying to stock it ourselves. It's
Hmm.
it's it's really nice.
And
Big ups
also,
crowd supply.
if you are, so it looks like you're at 578 backers right now. And so, if you do make, if it ends up at 600 or whatever, I believe that they'll actually commission another 50 or 100 or whatever to stock so that people can purchase them directly and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
they're
Right?
we've been chatting with them a bit, and they're already set to do like a post campaign like 500 unit order just for their
Oh,
own
wow.
stock, which is
Oh,
yeah
wow.
crazy. It does mean I have to make like 1,000 MP3 players, which is somewhat onerous, but it'll be okay. We did our worst case planning for this. We're gonna do it in batches. It's gonna be fine
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about it.
as long as
I
people are patient.
Yeah. And you said it's about a 6 month delivery, September-ish is what you're aiming for?
Yeah, for the first 500 units,
That's very good.
we're hoping to get them made in 6 months, and then from there, we're hoping that after the initial batch, that we should be able to do about 3 months per 500 units. But that'll be subject to parts being available, that kind of thing. Yeah, we're working on it. As long as we're selling 500 units 500 unit batches, we should be able to make them pretty reasonably quick because it's sort of enough that I don't need to get another job and can just be a full-time MP3 player merchant, which
Were
is
you were you
odd.
were you expecting that or counting on that? Or was that like a nice surprise? Or like did you think you'd sell anything like this many? Or
It was stressing me out all of January,
yeah,
because it's like, obviously I can't bum around making open hardware forever. I do need to
right.
eat. Um, so all of January was like, okay, depending on how this campaign goes, it's either I sell 100 and I do part-time work while
Yeah.
doing Tangara on the side, or it's what has happened, which is I just make these now, I guess, for the next year, maybe longer, which is pretty sick. I'm
Mm,
really nice too for the project as well, again, because it's like, okay, that means that in and around manufacturing, I can just work on the firmware and I can just
mhm.
make it better, which is such a great opportunity.
And the firmware is open source already, and
Yep.
people can, yeah. Where would
Yeah.
people go to find that stuff?
So we host it both on SourceHut and Codeberg. It's linked most places if you search for Tangara. I think if you search for Tangara, I think the SourceHut repo is actually one of the top links.
Okay, cool.
Or if you just go to like SourceHut, I don't know what their domain is, sur.hurt or something. I think we're actually on the front page there, which is a real.
Um,
I have used that in the past of like, how do I just get to my repo quickly? I know Drew put it on the front page.
Awesome. So I said I'd need about half an hour of your time. We're at 38 minutes. I don't know if there's other things that you want to share about the project or anything, or if you're ready to wind down, but we can go either way from here.
Gosh, what else is there to say? I feel like I can talk basically for an unlimited amount of time about my MP3 player. I'm so happy with it.
Whoa.
He just attempted to leap up onto a shelf and he almost didn't make it. Oh dear. Um, One thing we haven't talked about much, I think, is the sound, which I think is a fun part of the design.
Sweet.
Like we talked about, we've got the ESP32, which does Wi-Fi, it does Bluetooth Classic. But the thing about that particular ESP32, that particular product, is it doesn't have any USB peripheral.
Mm,
Um, and so that prompted us to then think about, okay, well, how do we do like USB file syncing? Because people
yeah.
are going to want to be able to do that. And so we ended up adding this SAM21.
Mhm.
We tried a few different things before we landed on the SAM21, and it's
Yeah.
actually been such a good get because it means
Yeah.
that like you don't ever need, hopefully, you don't ever need to touch the firmware on the SAM21, and it
Right.
can do. We've got most of USB file syncing working, but not finished yet.
Hmm.
We have got flashing. You can flash the ESP32.
Hmm.
It also manages like the power state of the system. So we have some very low power standby modes that give us great battery life. And because the SAMD21 is responsible for that and just you talk to it like a normal I2C device,
Yeah.
it's actually really easy. If you want to like throw away our firmware and just write your own ESP32 firmware that does, a Wi-Fi deauthor because you want to be a pest, anything like
Hmm.
that, it's actually quite easy to do that and still keep a lot of the core functions of the device working, just because it's
Cool.
implemented in this other thing that you don't need to touch.
Yeah.
It's I've been so happy with how it's worked out. It's actually a really nice little addition.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw that when I was looking through the specs or whatever. I was like, that is a like big extra what? And then I read a little bit about it. That's really cool. I
It's sick,
definitely
and
like.
it's very low power as well, and it's a
Yeah.
cheap microcontroller as well. So it's not actually that much extra in terms of adding it to the board, but you'd be shocked at how much it just opens up.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
you can also do we can also use it for some people have talked about wanting to use their Tangara as a USB DAC, so they plug it into their computer and use their headphone output. And because we've got the sound, you can do that too. You know?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I said I'm not an audiophile, but I do have like a Mark of the Uniform, Mark of the Unicorn USB deck that I'm talking to you on. So maybe.
Nice.
um, but yeah, no, I really like this MT21 and 51. I think they're great chips. I was just like,
Oh, I love them. They're perfect.
um, awesome. So get on crowd supply and back it if you want in 27 hours, or just wait for the next batch if you prefer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
some people are very skeptical about crowdfund, and I don't blame them because I think there's a lot of bullshit on
yeah,
crowdfund sites. But
well,
we're doing fine. We've had great success so far. So if people
yeah,
just want to wait and see if we can deliver, then that's totally fine too. I get that.
yeah. I mean, crowd supply, I think vets their creators in a very different way than your Indiegogos
Yes,
and
yeah, they're really are.
like that.
I'm
So
so happy Crowd Supply let us play on
yeah,
their platform. They're so nice.
yeah, I think it's a pretty crowdfunding is not a shop or whatever the disclaimer is, but CrowdSpy definitely do a pretty good job of vetting people and,
Mm.
and
And
shepherding
they
people
do a
along
lot
in
of
the
support as well.
yeah,
Like, and the
exactly,
fact that we get to use their distribution network just
exactly.
makes things so much easier because it means I don't need to deal with shipping lithium polymer batteries
Yes.
to arbitrary locations around the world.
Yeah. Let me just see if there's any more questions.
Yeah,
There's definitely
hit me with your questions.
there's definitely some comments. I guess if anyone has
Is anyone
questions, let
being
us know.
mean? Hit me with the mean comments. I'll get them.
We definitely got translucent purple. Lots of good morning, Jacqueline, which is nicely recognizing the time zone that you're in. Very good. Blue and pink writ dye on my desk to partial dipping for stripes. I like it.
Oh, that's
Go
fun.
faster stripes for better performance. Uh, cat comments. Are you doing all the assembly in-house? Asks Chipperdoodles.
Oh, that's a great question. So we're doing most of the PCB assembly with whoever ends up making our PCBs, maybe Isla. I want to use Isla if we can work out a couple things. And then like the final device assembly and testing and flashing, we're doing that ourselves here,
Hmm.
which I don't know. It's you could argue that it would be a more scalable production method to, you know, get everything done at like some assembly house in China or something. But I don't know. For me, this might be crazy, but for me, it's like if I'm selling you a device, I want to like I want to actually have built the device and test the device and be able to say from me, this works. This is a good thing. I don't know. I like being able to say that.
Yeah, I totally get it. I don't know if this is Krenan someone from your team?
Yo, that's my partner Daniel. What's he up
Okay,
to?
so
What's he
Daniel,
doing?
So someone was commenting, I'm going to get very good at soldering. And I was like, is that someone on the team's going to be doing all that soldering? So now I get it. So that's Daniel. Yeah, it sounds like Daniel's going to be doing
He's gonna
a
do
lot
all
of
of it for me.
All right. Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
no
Well, then,
problem. He's
yeah,
just
just do
gonna
it in
build
house
the
if
whole
he's
thing.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Um, I don't see any other questions. I don't know if you have any last little stories, things to share, exciting
All right. Well,
uh,
thank you very much
plugs.
for
Yeah.
having me on your tube. It's been
It
very
was
fun.
it was a pleasure. I'm really glad we got a chance to talk. And
And thank you, Brendan, for hooking us up.
yes, it was all Brendan's idea. So definitely credit there. I do want to plug our Discord server. If you go to makezine.com, just find a link there. If you really want to type it in, you can go makezine.com/go/discord, but really just like go to the website and click on the Discord logo. What about for you, Jacqueline? I know you're active on Mastodon. Is that a good place to find
Yeah, I am on
you?
the Federated verse. I am
Yeah,
Jacqueline at chaos.social.
Chaos
Um,
Social. We're server mates. I forgot. Yeah.
yeah, I love chaos.social. It's such
Yeah.
a I think it's low key one of the nicer instances. The
Yeah.
admins seem really good.
Yeah. I love it.
Or
And so
if you're not on the Federated verse, you can sign up for my PHP web forum at forum.cooltech.zone. Um,
also
if you get
available
an
at
SQL error, just refresh the page. It's fine.
also available at zone.cooltech.zone, I believe.
Oh, maybe I'll set that up.
Amazing. All right. Well, it was really brilliant having you on here. Everyone, if you're able and interested, please do go check out the campaign on Crowd Supply. One last plug for the old Volume 88 on newsstands now and in the Maker's Shed. And I think we'll call it a stream well done. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much, Jacqueline.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye.